back again, and we're going to be going ahead, and this time I'm playing against a roughly 2,000 rated Lee chess player, and I am black again. Lots of black games in this series, why not? And go. Matt used to play the Caro-Kann, so this isn't going to be super far outside of his realm of possibilities. So d4, d5. You definitely got that one. Mm-hmm. Takes, what did you normally do?
I take with the pawn.
That's the one. And then c4. This is the Panov-Botvinnik. And this is one of the main reasons I don't play the Caro-Kann, because this is a classical and good approach for white. And I know on Chessable there's a book specifically on this that I felt, I mean, you could check out the short and sweet, which is free, but even the free course was quite good. So I cannot remember off the top of my head the author's names because I look at way too many books, but he did the opening justice for white. Let's take a look at that. But anyways, knight f6, support the pawn, knight c3, and then this is where there's branches of different variations that black could choose from here. And I went with knight c6. It's typically seen as most flexible compared to e6, which is the old school way of playing. But white kind of gets exactly what he wants with those lines. You at least have some more flexibility here. My opponent played bishop g5. And now I'll give you the next move, and then the rest of it, we're basically out of the opening. I played bishop e6, which is a move that is third or fourth choice in the database here. It keeps tension, and again, a lot of the lines that I choose, my opponent played a simple opening from an open position. I'm not just going to play the typical moves here. I want to try to do something that is going to make them think. And as soon as I played bishop e6, my opponent did think, and he immediately captured. So first question, what do we take with?
Well, I like to take with the e-pawn. Opens up the bishop for potential pins on the knight on b4. But I guess if we're looking at where white may castle kingside, then I might want to take with the g-pawn to put the rook on g8 and attack them there.
So survey says?
G takes.
G takes makes it to where your king is never going to have a place to hide, though. Mm-hmm. So E takes...
Cleaner.
Because the bishop can get out, and you have an extra layer of protection when your king does castle kingside. Now, my opponent did play c takes d here, and this releasing of the tension is terrible. This is how quickly white can spoil an edge from a simple position where they have to think on their own. And this applies to pretty much any position in chess. It's kind of something that modern-day chess authors are battling. The line between recommending a line and that is not sound or objectively perfect correspondence level from an engine's perspective, and something that is playable, that even if the 1 in 10 line that your opponent finds, you're willing to risk it because you don't think they know the theory. Like it's... I feel that constantly I will play moves to create practical chances that may objectively not be good, or play lines that fall in that category. We can't all just play like the top level players do and make draws with black. We need to shake it up and try more risky things to win tournaments. So, after cd5, obviously, and he captures, and then obviously, and then he played knight f3, and this is where we can start playing guess the move, because we're out of the opening, and now we need to play critically.
All right. Well, first thing I notice is that the pawn is isolated, and I like to target it, and I have the right bishop to do so. So finding a nice path for him, maybe to get to b6 at some stage.
Okay.
However, there's interesting ideas of putting a question to our opponent in his piece placement and whether or not to be castles. So bishop b4 check comes to knight 2. And then last would be castling queenside with the same idea of targeting the center pawn.
All about pressure. And as you stated, most aggressive puts the question to his pieces, but before check. And now he blocks, only
But before.
real move, objectively. And what about here?
Well, seems like a free pawn in the center of the board. I don't really see a reason why not to take it with the queen. It's probably not a rush either. They can't really defend it, so maybe just castles kingside or queenside. So those are my three candidate moves.
Okay.
I would probably go with... Oh wait, there's also a liquidation idea. Bishop takes, queen takes on d4. Kind of popped out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with that one.
Okay. So in this case, much like a lot of the other positions that we've looked at, white's tied up. And when your opponent's tied up, you don't let him out of it.
Keep the tension.
And I castled because it's not easy for white to move his bishop because the g-pawn's going to hang. And now I've got the threat of rook e8 check, which will force that, and the position kind of plays itself from that point.
Okay.
Well, my opponent plays a3 to try to release the tension, so we're going to pour it on at this point with
Rook check.
the better rook. The other rook has more flexibility to go to the c file or d file, but that rook definitely needs to be on e8.
Yeah.
And after bishop block, grabbing the g-pawn is definitely a possibility, or grabbing the d-pawn. So, knight takes d4 or queen takes g2.
I mean, knight takes d4 looks pretty good. Like, you're double attacking the bishop. They don't want to recapture the queen. You're just winning material. Queen takes g2, rook over. So seems okay. Of the most pressure, it seems like knight takes is better.
Gotcha. Now, I played knight takes in the game because I see a logical forced continuation where the bishop's going to fall.
Okay.
Now, queen takes g2 is what the engine liked.
Okay.
And after a takes, knight takes here. And it's like, go ahead and not even grab the rook because he can block with stuff. Rook a3. And this is such an engine move. Knight f3. And a very engine line because humans don't typically let their rook hang on h1 to play rook a3 to try to survive a move longer, that type deal. But I went with a very natural knight takes d4. And this is where it comes to the debate, too, of as someone who's host online tournaments, how do you know when somebody's cheating? Like, the difference between these two lines, knight takes d4 is clearly winning. Any reasonably strong chess player can look at this position and be like, well, I can't really get out of this. He's losing material here. Versus that really ornate line, I mean, it just doesn't feel right to play queen takes g2 and speculate. A lot of people may play the move, but not that exact follow-up. So it's that type of...
I definitely wouldn't see a takes b4.
Right, and the Cinnapon loss and all that with that series of moves are the kind of moves that give those that are using assistance away, especially the lower the level, and then the closer to move accuracy that way, it sticks out. So a takes b4 was played, and see, it's kind of interesting, because as I'm saying this, I was like, okay, he can't do anything about the pin of the bishop, so I'm actually going to take on g2 first. And this is more of a squeeze idea rather than any sort of engine thought or anything like that, because his king can't go anywhere. And I wanted to make sure that after he trades down, there's no chance of him being safe, because with the pawn structure ruined, the queen's just going to be that much stronger, and it's going to make the game easy to convert. He goes rook f1, and now here I cashed in.
Yeah.
I played rook takes e2, but the engine likes queen f3 because
It's pretty strong.
because why not?
Yeah.
Of course, knight takes mate, and after knight e4, the best he has is king d2, where he can run a little bit, but death.
It feels like you're playing with your food.
But I cashed in because this was the idea after I played Queen G2. And then here, it's really a matter of technique in cleaning this type of position up. So this is where I find that my students begin to struggle because there's no super clear, easy way to just win this. Mm-hmm. So what would be your mindset with playing this position with black?
I definitely do not want to give the rook for a knight. 2 rooks versus a queen might be too much compensation.
Definitely.
I want to prevent counterplay with the rooks, so A6 came to mind. And but then they have potential B5. Maximizing my pieces with queen coming back into D5. And trying to get my opponent into some pinned ideas, I guess. So I guess maximization of your pieces is number one. The queen's kind of offsides right now.
So I think my mindset here was white's king's out in the open. Mm-hmm. If I can check him in a way to where I can just get his king to move away from the knight, I'm just going to win the knight for free, and there's no point in playing anymore. The knight's really the only thing that I'm worried about here. So I started with rook d8. And then after king c3, queen d5 is just absolutely crushing. Queen d5, and the knight actually has nowhere good it can move, mm-hmm. because you're going to lose even more material if, say, for instance, knight b1, queen d3 check, and the f1 rook falls.
Yeah.
I played queen c6 check because it went along with my plan. There's only 2 options for white here, and both lose a knight. Move the king or move the knight to block. He moved the knight to block, in which case?
Attack to pin piece, b5.
Pin it to win it.
Yep.
Then after b3, I claim the piece, and then I keep his king out in the open, in which case ends things quite effectively. And I just bumped it, and we lost camera, and that's why we're frozen, and that's going to end the video.